podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
The Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown.
It's the Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown, and we're so glad you're here for another episode. It's brought to you by the people that bring you Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner, and pretty much everything else that we bring you on this station. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham and eCinemaOne.com.
And eCinemaOne.com. I knew I would screw something up.
Because you can't get there without being here.
Yeah.
You can't get there from here. Okay. So, it's May 17th, 2019, yes. And we hope that you are enjoying our 31 Days of Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And as Kim said, this is featured on Subject Cinema, and Subject Cinema is sponsoring it.
Yes.
Along with her new Patreon-only show, Kaiju Corner, all about kaiju movies. You'll want to check that out. You got to be a $5 or above member of the Patreon patrons. So go over to patreon.com, PNRNetworks, and sign up. Because the more we get on Patreon, the more we can do for you, and we can't do it without your help. Mm-hmm. So please come over. So we're up to the 17th film we are doing on this little mini-series, and it's a weird one.
It is weird.
1989's Godzilla vs. Biollante.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I have not seen this. She has. So I'm going to lay back.
Yep. This is another film from the Heisei era of Godzilla films, and it's weird. I mean, I'll be the first to admit this it's exceedingly strange. And I know that when we're talking about a film series where you have people in giant rubber monster suits smacking the crap out of each other, to talk about something being weird, it's you gotta. But seriously, when you hear about the origin of this monster, you are definitely gonna go, what? So, the story of Godzilla vs. Biollante is now this, unlike other Godzilla movies, they are actually continuing over with the events that occurred in the Return of Godzilla, in the fact that they acknowledge that Godzilla showed up again, wrecked Tokyo again, and that he was driven into the volcano at Mount Mihara. Which, as far as anybody knows, he's still there. Dead or not, we don't know. They just know he's in the volcano.
Okay.
It was heavily implied that he, if not died, really wasn't feeling that well, because it's an active volcano.
It's like a hot shower to him.
You know, I mean, he's really strong and really powerful, but he's not made of adamantium, for crying out. See, that's the movie they need to make. Godzilla
versus Wolverine.
Yes! Holy cow, that would be awesome. Holy cow, that would be totally amazing.
Yeah, in a Bambi meets Godzilla kind of way.
Oh, are you nuts? Oh, come on.
Wolverine, 5 foot. Godzilla, 300 foot.
He's got to catch him first.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard. Anyway.
Hold up. No, wait.
Let's stick with the movies. We'll discuss this at some other time.
Anyway. So, they do have some of Godzilla's cells, because I don't even want to know why they do.
Why?
Yeah, I'm like, you want to leave those lying around?
These are like the people that Dr. Evil quotes, don't exist, that work on biological warfare stuff in mysterious places that don't really exist, Dr.
With the alien bodies that they say they don't have, right?
They don't have alien bodies, you silly thing. Why wouldn't they say if they had alien bodies?
Because the government's involved in massive cover-ups and lying to us?
No! Say it's not so.
I mean, what do I know? I have purple hair. So, anyway.
I think that means you're super smart myself. And royal.
Ah, true. So
Should I get the clown to come in and do royals for you?
No.
Okay, just try it.
Stop talking. So they take the cells from Godzilla. I don't even want to know where they got them. And they take them to this institute called the Sarita Institute of Technology and Science, because that's wicked long. And what they're going to do with these cells is what has to be one of the dumbest ideas I have ever heard, ever. What they decide they're going to do is they're going to take these cells and they're going to splice the cells with cells from plants that have been genetically modified.
Have they been talking to the professor guy played by Richard Attenborough in Jurassic Park? Are you sure they're not just sitting on these cells? Because,
no.
I mean, the acronym spells SITS. I'm just like, what? Okay, anyway.
The reason that they're going to do this, and there's an actual reason, not just science. The reason they're trying to do this is because they're trying to make seeds and plant life and all that stuff like that will be more hardy and less likely to wither and, have crop failure and things like that.
I fail to understand how that would even be possible doing what they're doing. That just seems completely and utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, it does. I'm not going to
Science my ass.
I'm not going to lie to you. It is, like I said, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So, but that's what they're planning to do. So, they've got these seeds, they've got these, plant cells, and they've got Godzilla cells, and they start mushing them together. And there's the doctor that's the head of this program, and his daughter are brought in. She comes with him because she's involved with this too. The doctor's name is Dr. Genshiro Shiragami, and his daughter's name is Erika. Now, this is all happening in another country. This is not actually happening in Japan. This is happening in the country of Saradia, wherever that is. The thing is, because this country has a lot of oil, and they can't grow a lot of plant life because they've got all this oil. So that's why they're doing this whole trying to make these super strong seeds, because they figure if something's fused with Godzilla DNA, it's pretty much going to outlast anything. My whole thing is then you're going to have irradiated food. Now, I realize I slept through a lot of science class, but I'm pretty sure eating irradiated food is not good for you unless you're like Superman or whatever.
Eating irradiated food makes you giant.
According to 1950s horror movies.
Right.
But anyway, the problem is that the institute is attacked by terrorists and the cells wind up being destroyed, and Dr. Shiragami's daughter Erika winds up being killed in the terrorist attack. So jump forward 5 years, boing, and Dr. Shiragami is back in Japan now. Don't do that. Dr. Shiragami is back in Japan and has... I don't even want... Now, if you thought the stuff before was ridiculous, hold on to your hats, Helen, because it's about to get absolutely bonkers. The doctor has taken some of Erika's cells. Again, see, I don't want to know from where. And he merged the cells from his dead daughter, with the cells of a rose in order to preserve her energy, her soul, if you prefer. Now, we are not going to get into metaphysics on this show, but what the effing F are you talking about? I'm sorry. This brings up a line that they used on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I'm sorry, it fits here. You're not a real doctor, are you? I mean, this is complete... We've gone...
I don't think it's even genetically possible to do that, but anyway.
Well, no. Besides the fact that, like I said, not getting into metaphysical stuff here, but then you're going to have people arguing about whether or not the soul exists, and we ain't going to do that. But... I'm sorry, I understand grief. I understand not wanting to let someone go. I can't even imagine how painful it would be to be a parent, to lose your child, especially to lose your child to violence. But good grief, man. You take your child's DNA and merge it with a plant so you can keep part of her around forever.
That's kind of sweet, even if it doesn't work.
It's kind of sweet, I guess, in kind of a head-tilting ick kind of way.
No more than Astro Boy, when you think about it, because Astro Boy was made as a robot to resemble the guy's dead son.
Yeah, I know.
And
but,
again, that's another Japanese production. There we go again. Okay,
yeah, right.
Anyway.
But I would like to bring up in defense of Astro Boy that the scientist who made him didn't include his son's DNA.
No, that's true.
No, we've.
But he did include his son's personality.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Okay, so there's still some of that. There.
Fine.
Anyway.
But there wasn't anything about souls in this because we're not going there. So, also involved now in like this other new project. There's another scientist named Kirishima and a Lieutenant Gondo who is from the Japanese Self-Defense Force. And they are trying to create this anti-nuclear energy bacteria. Because that sounds safe. And they're using other cells collected from, you guessed it, Godzilla. How many cells did they collect from Godzilla, and how long did how did they did somebody walk up to him and just go, okay, can you stay still for a second? Scrape, 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 thank you, run, run, run. I'm sorry, how did this happen?
We're really getting we're not even 20 minutes into this film yet, and we're just like, already at the explosion point of ridiculousness.
I'm sorry, if you took a drink, if your idea of a drinking game, if you are of legal age, because we don't encourage underage drinking on this show. It's called CYA, children. If you were playing a drinking game for this show, and it was take a shot every time something completely flying in the face of science happened, I think by this point you would be very ill from alcohol poisoning. So anyway, they're trying to create this bacteria in case Godzilla should come back. Okay. So they try to, the other professor and Lieutenant Gondo tried to recruit Dr. Shiragami to help them, but he's all like, no, not interested. So now the world governments know that there are, that people have these Godzilla cells that are not currently attached to Godzilla out there, and they want them for themselves. Why? I have no effing idea, but, I didn't write this movie.
Super weapon.
And that people that are interested in getting their hands on these include people from the Sauradian government and also a bio company from America. Because, of course. So, there's an explosion at Mount Miyahara, and because it's an earthquake, and it causes tremors that spread out from the point of origin, and they affect the home where Dr. Shiragami is living, and they also affect the roses that he's been growing there that have his daughter's DNA involved in them in ways I'd really rather not think about. And the roses are damaged. Now, because they're damaged, he decides, well, I'm going to play along with the JDSF, and he says, oh yeah, I'll come and help you now. And because the JDSF is apparently staffed by a bunch of people that don't know a setup when they see it, they're all like, yay, welcome aboard. So Dr. Shiragami is now given access to the Godzilla cells that they have, and in a moment of, are you freaking serious, decides that he's going to take some of the Godzilla cells and merge them with one of the roses, which contains the cells of his dead daughter. So now we've got Rose DNA, Godzilla DNA, and human DNA all in one object. I can't call it a plant anymore.
I can't follow this. It's too much of a freaking scorecard.
I can't call it a plant anymore. I just can't. So after this happens, some people from the American Biolab and some agents from Saradia break into Dr. Shiragami's lab, but the problem is they are attacked by something. Not someone.
Dun, 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 dun.
Something. As it turns out, this fusion of plant Godzilla human DNA, aka flying directly in the face of God, has become a living whatever it is. I mean, what?
I don't see Dr. Frankenstein here anywhere.
I mean, you talk about tampering in God's domain.
Okay,
I mean, holy
okay.
cow. And after this thing kills a bunch of people, it breaks out of the lab and goes in and hides in a nearby lake called Lake Ashino, and it is named Biollante by Dr. Shiragami, who is actually not all that upset about this development.
No, because he's gone completely off the deep end. We've already figured that out.
Oh, yeah. He, pogo-sticked into mad scientist territory a long time ago.
Angry scientist!
Anyway, the people from the American company put explosives around around Mount Miyahara and let the diet, which is I don't even know if it's pronounced diet or diet.
It's diet, and it's
diet.
Japanese Congress.
Yes. They basically tell the Congress that if they don't get the cells back, if they don't get the cells, not back, but if they don't get the cells, they're going to detonate all the explosives that around the mountain, and that's going to free Godzilla, who apparently people have figured out is not dead. So the government is like, oh crap, apparently nobody told them that whole "we don't bargain with terrorists" cliche, because they cave like a house of cards. And I
just want to say, I understand, I've read about it, I haven't seen the film, like I said. There does seem to be a lot of anti-American sentiment in this film.
You noticed!
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to be the bad guy. It's the other scientists, Kirishima and Lieutenant Gondo, are sent to trade to get to deliver the cells and get the explosives to get off the mountain. But an agent from Saradian makes sure that doesn't happen, and he manages to get the cells and take off. The explosives wind up getting sent off, and the mountain goes bluey, and out comes Godzilla. Ta-da!
Where's the rest of the mountain?
What do you mean?
Well, isn't there lava cascading down the side of the mountain now if it's opened up and Godzilla's come out?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People really aren't paying attention to that.
I guess not.
They're
okay.
paying more attention to the fact that Godzilla. Yeah. Anyway. So, Godzilla, like I mentioned, he's been released, and so there's that problem now. Godzilla tries to go, his whole thing is now it's like after yawning and stretching, he's like, I'm hungry. So he's going to a nearby power plant to get...
No, he's not.
Well, he's
going to Denny's.
Look, I realize the food at Denny's can be very tasty, in case anybody from Denny's is listening, but I don't think they use nuclear energy, and that's what Godzilla's got a hankering for.
Oh, okay, fine.
So, but before he can get there, Biollante winds up calling out to Godzilla. Because if you think about it, in sort of an eye-crossing way, they're kind of related.
They're telepathically bonded.
They're kind of related.
She's calling to me. I have to go.
Let that sink in for a minute.
No, that's all right. I'd rather just bounce off on a duck, because it's like, I can't deal with this.
So Godzilla...
This is just major league messed up. Anyway, next.
Godzilla shows up at the lake, and it's not a fun reunion. Godzilla and Biollante wind up having this fight, and it's not a pretty fight, and Godzilla winds up winning. Godzilla then heads off to a power plant at Suruga, but then the government has psychics working for it. Now, whether or not people know about this, I would actually hazard to guess no. But there's a psychic her name is Miki Sayagusa, and she is somehow able to get into Godzilla's head. I don't entirely know how. Psychics? Yeah. And instead of him going to Suruga, she like telepathically influences him to go to Osaka. Why does
she have Godzilla DNA in her too?
No.
Well, then that makes no sense.
She's just a psychic. She's obviously a very friggin' powerful psychic if she's able to pull this off. Why she wouldn't just send Godzilla into the middle of the ocean is beyond me, but I didn't write this movie. So... Because
she's a psychic, she can see everything in the future. And that's not
I don't think she's that kind of a psychic.
Oh.
I don't think she's a precognitive psychic. She's just a vibing in on a giant monster psychic.
Oh, okay.
That's oddly specific, and it really would kind of suck as a superpower. Oh, actually, it really wouldn't if you could flat out control Godzilla.
It doesn't
mentally.
work. We've seen all the damn aliens in the 70s, so we know it doesn't work in the long run.
That doesn't work in the long run. But if you could figure out how to do it and actually do it right, man, you'd make an awesome supervillain. I got to get to work on that.
We are not having Godzilla. The apartment is not big enough. I'm sorry. If we lived out in the countryside where we could build him a special enclosure, that's a different thing. But we don't.
Okay.
We live in the middle of a suburb in an apartment. Not going to happen. Anyway.
Yeah, but I would make a dynamite supervillain. You got to give me that much.
You just want your cape.
Yeah, I really do. I really do. Well, I look good in a cape.
Give us the epilogue here. Let's go.
Moving forward. So the JDSF led faction led by Lieutenant Gondo, they charge at Godzilla and they throw a bunch of rockets at him, and
it has anti-nuclear bacteria. Where did they get this? This is what they've
been
working on,
That was what they were working on earlier on in the movie.
Uh-huh. Of course they were.
Yeah. And Lieutenant Gondo winds up being killed. Godzilla, spoiler alert, does not. Godzilla basically does one of those kind of...
Although that would be actually a really good thing if they actually could come up with it.
What?
Anti-nuclear bacteria. You could use it to clean up like toxic spills and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a cool idea. Yeah. Somebody could get on that, scientists. Stop trying to do like the Hadron Collider and all that stuff and making black holes and stuff. Work on this.
No, it's been running for 5 years. We haven't had any problems, so it's okay.
So anyway, the bacteria doesn't work, and Godzilla basically just brushes it off and just, he's just kind of like, well, fine, I'll leave. And he does wind up heading out of the city. So the cells Godzilla's cells wind up getting found again by the scientist Kirishima, and he brings them back to the JDSF. Now Dr. Shiragami, remember the cause of all this mess, has a theory that if the reason that the bacteria didn't work on Godzilla is because Godzilla's body temperature is too low. So the idea is to try and get his body temperature raised, and that should make the bacteria actually work. The JDSF put up a bunch of plates that they create a thunderstorm, and they put up these plates that emit microwaves. Now, while this is going on, they're using the microwave plates and the thunderstorm, which is obviously making lightning, and they're hitting Godzilla with the lightning. This seems like an incredibly stupid idea, but...
Didn't Godzilla, absorb King Kong's ability to get charged up
with
the
somehow.
Lightning somehow in one of the earlier movies?
Well, he's got lightning powers in for the earlier movies that brought him back to life.
Extreme lightning!
Anyway, so it is heating up his body temperature, and this is all going on in the mountainsides outside of Osaka. The thing is, Godzilla's temperature is affected, and they try the bacteria again, and it does work a little, as in a little more than before, which, considering that before was nothing. But Godzilla has actually got another problem, and actually so does everybody else, because as it turns out, Biollante is back. And this is a different Biollante. This is a more evolved Biollante. This is also a much uglier Biollante. I realize that's incredibly shallow, but there it is. So we have round 2 of Godzilla versus Biollante. And the end of the fight happens when Godzilla uses his atomic breath and blasts it straight into Biollante's mouth. Boom! Big boom.
He does that a lot, doesn't he?
Biollante parts.
That's how he got rid of the Muto.
Yeah.
Too.
And it was good.
It was.
And it was awesome. And I needed a cigarette, and I don't smoke.
Yes, dear.
So after this big fight where Godzilla destroys Biollante again, this time for good, Godzilla falls to the ground on the beach where they were fighting, and Biollante's parts disintegrate, and they go up into the sky, and there's an image in the sky of Erica. So I guess her soul really was in the cells or something like that. I don't know. Did I mention this movie is weird? Dr. Shiragami and all of this mess winds up also being killed by one of the agent from
Stein.
Yeah, that's it. The agent's name is SSS9. Not really roll off the tongue like double. Doesn't really roll off the tongue like 007, does it? The scientist Kirishima chases the assassin, and the assassin winds up being killed by one of those big microwave plates that they were using to try and heat Godzilla's body temperature up. Somehow in all of this, Godzilla, it's like some of Biollante's essence fell on Godzilla and re-energized him or something. I don't know. And Godzilla wakes up, and he just, instead of waking up and being all I'm pissed and wrecking everything, or making a beeline to Tokyo and just stomping the place flat, Godzilla gets up, goes into the water, and heads back out. The end.
Why is this a fan favorite?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, but the reason I like it is because it's Godzilla.
It's just out. What the hell? It makes no sense at all.
It makes much more sense when you see it, as opposed to me trying to explain
Splicing Godzilla genes into plants and bacteria. No, it doesn't make any sense.
All right, I'm being optimistic. But part of what I like about this film, and I know some people are going to be like, you are definitely high, is Biollante. The first iteration of Biollante
is a rose, isn't it?
It's an enormous rose-ish thing.
With a maw.
Sort of. Yeah. And it's actually kind of beautiful. And I know some people out there went, yeah, she's on the hard drugs tonight. But there's just something about it that I find really, really beautiful. And just, there's this very alien, otherworldly quality to it that I think it's very beautiful and compelling. And this one's going to get me in trouble. It's very feminine.
No, that's correct.
It's got a feminine feel to it. Mm-hmm. As much as a giant kaiju can have a feminine feel to it.
Right.
But it's the later
it's a female because it has
Erica's DNA.
DNA merged into it.
Yeah. The later iterations of Biollante in the film, the Biollante that fights Godzilla at the end of the film, is not strangely attractive. It's not attractive at all. I mean, this thing didn't get beat by an ugly stick, it got beat by the ugly tree. It's got these huge teeth, and it's really kind of horrifying looking. And the fight between Godzilla and Biollante at the end of the movie is really badass. It really is badass.
This film was written by a dentist. It was a part of a
I
story
never would have
contest.
guessed that.
No, it was a story contest.
So if you see the teeth on Biollante at the end, you will not be surprised at that.
And on July 19th, 2014, Godzilla vs. Biollante was selected as the best Godzilla film ever by a vote of fans and judges.
I guess it's a good thing it was.
That is terrifying. When you sit and you read the premise of this movie, that is freaking terrifying.
I'm telling
I'm
you
going to have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm not giving the movie the proper narrative, I suppose.
Well, it's not you. I mean, I'm looking at Wikipedia, and it's just as crazy as what you were talking about. So
I just find it hilarious that it was written by a dentist. When you look at the way Biollante is designed, I guess we should all be grateful it wasn't written by a gynecologist.
Interestingly enough, it was not a box office success.
No.
It was released only on home video in America, and it's like, wow, I can't imagine how come the masses didn't like this when they're used to the stomp 'em. They didn't want some cerebral story about, death and, and existentialism, which is basically what this is, right?
Yeah, there is definitely a very, metaphysical bent to the film.
Director Kazuki Omori would also go on to direct the next film in the series, and it is the one that we will be talking about tomorrow, when they decided to go back to the drawing board and back into Godzilla's old repertoire and habits by bringing back one of Godzilla's most deadly opponents.
And awesome looking.
Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah will be up tomorrow on the Big G, Tokyo Town StompDown. Until then, for this show and Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner, and eCinemaOne, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Keep stomping. We're getting all the way to the end.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown from Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner, and eCinemaOne.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.